Amores 1:1 is the first poem of the three books of the Amores, and we can see in this poem how Ovid is developing the generic conventions of love elegy, and also to some degree transcending them or turning them on their head. So in Amores 1:1, Ovid declares that he was composing a poem about Arma, about war, in sort of heavy meter, which would obviously be the epic hexameter meter. So he says that he is composing an epic poem about war and martial exploits. And then Cupid came along and laughed and stole one of the feet of his second line. So he's setting up a kind of mock epiphany here, where a god appears and tells him to write what to write. And so in this scene, Ovid is sort of playing around with the idea of divine inspiration, which obviously goes right back to Homer. In his case, it's Cupid, the god of love, who is inspiring him to write about love. And there's a sort of argument that happens in the poem between the poet and the god, where the poet says, "What are you doing here? I am writing my great epic." And Cupid says, "Don't be silly, you must write about love." And the poet then says, "But I don't have any girl or boy to write about." But Cupid then fires his arrow and shoots the poet with his bow, and he subsequently is consumed by love. So it's a kind of humorous, jokey version of what we see in, for example, in Propertius's first book, particularly his first poem, where he says that it was Cynthia who first consumed him with the madness of love, and out of that madness and passion for Cynthia, his girlfriend, his poetry emerges. In Ovid's case, there is no girl, there is no object of love. There is simply the sort of divine inspiration of Cupid. So he sort of plays on the convention that of the puella, or the girl in particular, as being the material, the raw material for the poetry. In Ovid's case, there is no raw material. So he's being very self-conscious, and he's exposing the sort of artifice of Latin love elegy in this witty sort of first poem. The other thing that's going on in the poem, of course, is a sort of he's also playing on the metaphor of militia amoris. He was writing about military themes, and then Cupid shoots him with his particular weapon, the arrow of love, and then Ovid becomes a sort of soldier in Cupid's army, and he develops that theme in the poem after Amores 1:1, the second poem of the collection. All of this happens without any actual girl being named or being described. We only meet the girl in the fifth poem of the Amores, and we realize we find out she's called Corinna. So what this does is this to some degree undermines any sense of the reality behind the poetry. Ovid isn't particularly interested in maintaining the illusion of sincerity and reality. He's more interested in the discursive dynamics of love poetry, rather than in exploring the emotional complexity of raw passion per se. At least that's how people have interpreted what he's doing with the genre at this point.